The warning lights turned red across every screen on the ESV horizon. Captain Yunde-ho gripped his chair as the ship shook violently. Something had gone wrong with their hyperspace jump. Very wrong. We are exiting hyperspace now, the navigation officer shouted. I cannot stop it. The stars returned to normal outside the windows. But what Daeho saw made his blood run cold. 47 massive warships surrounded them. Each one was bigger than anything Earth had ever built. Their weapons were already pointed at the tiny human vessel. Where are we? Daeho asked, keeping his voice calm. Dr. Park Soo-min checked her screens with shaking hands. She was the ship's diplomat and language expert. Unknown space, Captain. These ships, they match no records we have. This is first contact. Lieutenant Kang Ji-won stood near the weapons console. Her finger hovered over the button. Orders, Captain? Should I power up our weapons? Daeho thought for 3 seconds. 3 seconds that would decide the fate of humanity. No, he said. Power everything down. Weapons, shields, everything except life support and communication. Sir? Ji-won looked at him with wide eyes. We will be defenseless. We are already defenseless, Daeho replied. One of those ships could destroy us in a single shot. Fighting is not an option. Our only chance is to show them we mean no harm. The crew followed his orders. The horizon went dark and quiet. Now they could only wait. The alien ships did not fire. Instead, a message came through on all frequencies. The language was strange, full of clicking sounds and deep vibrations. Dr. Park worked quickly with the translation software. They are asking who we are, she said. They want to know why we have entered their space. Can you respond? Daeho asked. I can try. The computer is building a basic translation matrix. Soo-min spoke slowly into the microphone. She introduced them as explorers from a planet called Earth. She explained that their arrival was an accident. She asked for peaceful communication. Silence, then more clicking sounds. They are confused, Soo-min translated. They say most species either attack or run away. They want to know why we are just sitting here. Daeho almost laughed. Tell them we prefer talking to dying. Soo-min sent the message. More silence followed. Then something unexpected happened. The weapons on the alien ships powered down. A single vessel moved forward and stopped beside the horizon. They want us to come aboard, Soo-min said. They will take us to their leaders. The High Arbiter of the Valorian Dominion wants to meet us personally. The Valorian Dominion? Jang Won repeated. That sounds like an empire. A very large one, I think, Soo-min replied quietly. Daeho stood up and straightened his uniform. Soo-min, Ji-won, you are with me. Everyone else stays on the ship. If we do not return in 12 hours, leave this space and warn Earth. The 3 humans boarded the alien vessel. The inside was enormous, with ceilings so high that Daeho could barely see the top. The walls were covered in strange symbols and moving lights. Everything smelled like metal and something sweet, like flowers from another world. Their guards were insectoid creatures. They stood on 4 legs and had 2 arms with sharp claws. Their eyes were large and black, showing no emotion. They clicked at each other as they led the humans through endless corridors. Finally, they reached a massive door. It opened slowly, revealing a chamber that took Daeho's breath away. The Galactic Senate. Over 2,000 beings sat in circular rows that rose toward the ceiling. They came in every shape and size. Some had scales, some had fur, some had no solid form at all. They all turned to look at the 3 tiny humans. Walking into the center of the room, at the highest point sat High Arbiter Telvis. He was the largest insectoid Daeho had seen, with a shell that shimmered like dark gold. Ancient symbols were carved into his body. When he spoke, His voice echoed through the entire chamber. So these are the creatures who sat quietly while our warships surrounded them. Su Min bowed deeply. Daeho and Ji-won did the same. Then they stood in perfect silence, waiting. The Senate began to whisper. The sound was like wind through a strange forest. Hundreds of voices spoke in dozens of languages, all asking the same questions. Who were these creatures? Why were they so calm? What were they planning? Telvis raised one claw, and silence fell instantly. In 4,000 years, he said, 89 species have entered this chamber for the first time. 37 attacked our guards before reaching these doors. 22 tried to run. The rest begged for mercy or threatened revenge. None of them did what you are doing now. Daeho kept his face neutral. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. Beside him, he could feel Su Min trembling slightly. But neither of them moved. We are visitors in your home, Daeho said carefully, hoping the translation was accurate. It would be rude to make demands. We will wait until you are ready to speak with us. More whispers. A creature with 6 eyes leaned toward its neighbor. Did you hear that? Rude. It called aggression rude. Telvis leaned forward, his massive form casting a shadow over the humans. Tell me, small creatures from the unknown world, are you not afraid? The question hung in the air. Every being in the chamber held their breath. Daeho looked at Su Min. She looked back at him. They both knew that their answer would change everything. Su-Min stepped forward. She looked directly at the High Arbiter. Her voice was steady even though her hands were cold with fear. We are terrified, she said. Our hearts are racing. Our bodies want to run or fight. Every part of our nature is screaming that we are in danger. The Senate gasped. Such honesty was almost unheard of. But, Su Min continued, fear does not control us. We feel it, we accept it, and we choose our actions anyway. That is what it means to be human. The chamber fell completely silent. Not a single click or whisper. Even Telvis seemed frozen in place. Then, slowly, he sat back on his throne. Interesting, he said softly. Most interesting. He turned to his advisors and spoke in rapid clicks that the translator could not catch. When he turned back to the humans, something had changed in his ancient eyes. You have surprised us, humans. That does not happen often. But words are easy. Anyone can speak bravely. The question is whether your actions match your words. What do you mean? Daeho asked. Telvis made a sound that might have been a laugh. You will face tests. 3 of them. They will show us your true nature. Pass them, and we will talk about your future. Fail them. He let the sentence hang unfinished. And if we refuse? Ji-won asked. Telvis looked at her with those dark, ancient eyes. Then you will never leave this chamber. Daeho did not hesitate. He bowed once more. We accept. The words echoed through the Senate. 2,000 aliens watched as 3 small humans stood alone in the center of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. They did not know what tests awaited them. They did not know if they would survive, but they stood tall. And they did not run. High Arbiter Telvis nodded slowly. Tomorrow we begin. Until then, you will be our guests. Try to rest. You will need your strength. As guards led them away, Ji-won leaned close to Daeho. What did we just agree to? She whispered. Daeho looked at the endless alien faces watching them leave. I have no idea, he whispered back. But we did not have a choice. Behind them, the Senate erupted in discussion. For the first time in centuries, something truly new had happened. Humanity had arrived. And they had not bowed, begged, or broken. The galaxy would never be the same. The room they gave the humans was comfortable, but clearly a prison. The door had no handle on the inside. The windows showed only empty space. Captain Yoon-dae-ho sat on a strange bed that adjusted to his body shape. He had not slept at all. Dr. Park Soo-min paced back and forth across the room. We should not have agreed so quickly. We do not even know what these tests are. We had no choice, Lieutenant Kang Ji-won said from her corner. She was doing stretches, keeping her body ready. Refuse and die, or accept and maybe live. The math was simple. Nothing about this is simple, Soo-min replied. The door opened without warning. Commander Vrethix entered. He was a Valorian warrior, larger than the others they had seen. Battle scars covered his shell, and one of his arms had been replaced with metal. He looked at the humans with clear distrust. Follow me, he clicked. The first test begins now. They walked through corridors filled with aliens who stopped to stare. Word had spread about the strange creatures who did not run or fight. Some watched with curiosity. Others watched with fear. Dae-ho noticed that many kept their distance, as if the humans might be dangerous. If only they knew, he thought. We have never felt less dangerous in our lives. They entered a large arena. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform. High Arbiter Telvis sat in a special box with his advisors. The Senate was not present, but many important figures had come to watch. A creature with scales like silver walked over to them. His movements were smooth like water. I am Delegate MoreHFY of the Cheller, he said. His voice was surprisingly gentle. The voice was surprisingly gentle. My people were conquered by the Dominion long ago. We survived by accepting our place. I came to see if you will do the same. What do you mean? Dae-ho asked. MoreHFY looked at them with sad eyes. The first test breaks everyone. I have seen 100 species enter that chamber. He pointed to a dark doorway on the arena floor. I have never seen anyone leave unchanged. What is in there? Ji-won asked. Your worst nightmares. Made real. Before MoreHFY could say more, Commander Vrethix pushed between them. Enough talk. High Arbiter Telvis will explain the rules. The ancient insectoid's voice echoed through the arena. Humans. The first test is the Crucible Chamber. It reads your mind and creates your deepest fears. You cannot fight them. You cannot escape them. You can only endure. One of you must enter. If they survive for 1 hour without breaking, you pass. Dae-ho stepped forward. I will go. I am the captain. It should be me. But Ji-won grabbed his arm. No, sir. Your job is to lead. My job is to protect. Let me do my job. Lieutenant. Captain. Her voice was firm. I have trained for situations like this. Stress, fear, pain. The military taught me how to manage my mind. Let me go. Soo-min touched Dae-ho's shoulder. She is right. Ji-won is the best choice. Dae-ho looked at his security officer. She was young, but her eyes were steady. Are you sure? He asked quietly. Ji-won smiled slightly. No, but I will do it anyway. She walked to the dark doorway. Thousands of aliens watched in silence. Commander Vrethix pressed a button and the door opened. Cold air flowed out, carrying a strange smell that made Ji-won's stomach turn. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chamber came alive. In the arena, screens appeared showing Ji-won's vital signs. Her heart rate, her brain activity, her stress levels. The audience could see everything except what she was seeing inside. Her heart rate jumped. 120, 140, 160. It has started, Vrethix announced. Let us see how long she lasts. Inside the chamber, Ji-won faced her first nightmare. Her family's home and business appeared around her. But something was wrong. The walls were on fire. She heard her mother screaming from upstairs. Ji-won ran toward the stairs, but they collapsed. She fell into darkness, landing in cold water. The water rose quickly. She could not find the surface. Her lungs burned for air. Then she was somewhere else. A hospital room. Her younger brother lay in a bed, pale and still. Machines beeped slowly. A doctor spoke words she could not hear, shaking his head. Then darkness again. Complete, total darkness. She could not see her own hands. She could not hear anything. She was floating in nothing, alone forever. Her heart rate hit 190. Sweat covered her body. Her hands shook violently. In the arena, MoreHFY leaned forward. She is near breaking. I have seen this before. The isolation always destroys them. But then something changed. On the screen, her heart rate began to slow. 180, 170, 160. Inside the chamber, G1 had stopped fighting. She sat down in the darkness, cross-legged, and closed her eyes. Even though she could not see anything, closing her eyes felt like taking control. She focused on her breathing. In for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Out for 4. A technique she had learned in basic training. Simple but powerful. The darkness whispered terrible things. You are alone. No one will save you. You will die here forgotten. G1 breathed. In. Hold out. Her heart rate dropped to 140. Then 120. Then 100. Commander Rethix stared at the screen. That is impossible. No one calms down in the crucible. Arbiter Telvis said nothing, but his ancient eyes were fixed on the display. The chamber tried again. New nightmares appeared. G1 saw herself falling from a great height. She saw creatures chasing her through endless corridors. She saw faces of friends turning into monsters. Each time, she felt the fear. Her body reacted with racing heart and shaking hands. But each time, she chose her response. She did not scream. She did not beg. She did not break. Time passed slowly. 30 minutes. 45 minutes. 55 minutes. G1's body was exhausted. Her mind was tired in ways she had never experienced. But she kept breathing. In. Hold. Out. Finally, the door opened. Light flooded in. G1 stood slowly, her legs unsteady. She walked out of the chamber and faced the silent arena. Everyone stared at her. Thousands of aliens who had expected her to fail. G1 wiped the sweat from her face. Then, with a voice that barely shook, she asked, "Was that sufficient?" Complete silence. Then MoreHFY started to laugh. It was a strange sound, like bells underwater. Other species joined him, though none of them knew why they were laughing. Relief, perhaps. Or amazement. Commander Vrethix's mandibles clicked rapidly. His translator struggled to keep up with his muttering. Impossible. She should have broken. The isolation alone should have destroyed her. How did she? Captain Deho rushed to G1's side. He caught her as her legs finally gave out. "I have you," he said. "You did it. You did it." Sumin joined them, her eyes wet with tears. "That was the bravest thing I have ever seen." G1 managed a weak smile. "I was terrified the whole time." "That is what made it brave," Sumin replied. Arbiter Telvis raised one claw. The arena fell silent. "In 4,000 years," he said, "no species has ever calmed themselves inside the crucible chamber. Fear has always controlled them, even if they did not break completely. But this human, she felt the fear, and then she chose to be calm anyway." He looked at the 3 humans huddled together on the arena floor. "You have passed the first test, but do not celebrate yet. The second test comes tonight, and it will challenge something very different." MoreHFY approached them as guards led them away. His silver scales caught the light. "I watched 100 species fail that test," he said quietly. "I watched my own people fail. None of them did what she did. What did she do that was so different? Daeho asked. Morvaine's eyes were filled with something like wonder. She did not try to fight the fear or run from it. She accepted it as part of herself and then made a choice anyway. In 4,000 years, no one has ever done that. He looked at G1, who was barely conscious in Daeho's arms. What kind of creatures are you? Daeho did not have an answer. He just held his officer close and followed the guards. Behind them, the arena buzzed with conversation. Word was spreading through the Dominion. The humans had passed the first test, and they had done it in a way that no one had ever seen. Some said it was luck. Some said it was a trick. But others, like Morvaine, knew the truth. These small creatures from an unknown world had a power that no weapon could match. They could look at fear itself and say, "You do not control me, Dot," and that was more terrifying than any army. Lieutenant Kang Ji-won slept for 6 hours after the crucible. When she woke, Captain Yoon Dae-ho was sitting beside her bed. The worry on his face told her everything about how close she had come to failing. "How do you feel?" he asked. Ji-won sat up slowly. Her body ached like she had run a marathon. "Like I fell off a mountain. But I'm alive." Dr. Park Soo-min entered carrying strange clothes. They were simple but elegant, made from material that shifted colors in the light. "Gifts from the Valorians," she explained. "Tonight is the second test. A formal gathering with representatives from all 89 species in the Dominion." "A party?" Ji-won asked, confused. "A trap," Daeho said quietly. "They want to see how we behave around others. One wrong word, one wrong reaction, and we fail." Soo-min laid out the clothes. "We must be careful. Some species will try to provoke us. They want to see our true nature. Then we show them nothing," Ji-won said, standing despite her tired legs. "We stay calm, no matter what." The gathering was held in a hall of crystal. Light from distant stars passed through the walls, creating rainbows everywhere. Music played, though it sounded strange to human ears. Hundreds of aliens moved through the space, talking, eating, observing. When the 3 humans entered, every conversation stopped. All eyes turned toward them. Advisor Kelleth approached first. She was a Valorian like Telvis, but smaller and covered in golden patterns. "Welcome to the gathering of voices. You may speak with anyone. You may eat and drink what is safe for your biology. And you may show us who you truly are." She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. For the first hour, things went smoothly. Soo-min translated as various species approached with questions. Where was Earth? How had humans developed space travel so quickly? What did they eat? The questions were curious, sometimes strange, but never hostile. Then Lord Vaxon arrived. He was massive, standing twice as tall as Daeho. His species, the Druin, were warriors known throughout the galaxy for their violence. 4 arms ended in clawed hands. His face was flat with no visible nose, just a wide mouth full of sharp teeth. The crowd parted as he walked toward the humans. His followers trailed behind him, clicking and growling in their language. Vaxon stopped directly in front of Daeho. He leaned down until his face was close enough that the captain could smell his breath. It was like rotting meat. "So these are the famous humans," Vaxon said loudly. The creatures who sat quietly while warships surrounded them. "Tell me, Captain, is cowardice a virtue on your planet?" The room fell silent. Everyone watched. Daeho kept his expression neutral. "We did not sit quietly because we were afraid. We sat quietly because attacking would have been pointless." "Pointless?" Vaxon laughed. It was an ugly sound. A true warrior attacks even when defeat is certain. That is honor. "I suppose we have different definitions of honor," Daeho replied calmly. Vaxon's eyes narrowed. He had expected anger or fear. Instead, He got polite disagreement. This annoyed him. Your species crawled out of some forgotten rock in the galaxy's arm, he said, raising his voice so everyone could hear. You have no history, no achievements, no reason to exist. You are vermin, insects beneath the boot of real civilizations. Su-min grabbed Ji-won's arm, feeling her tense up. But Ji-won stayed still. Daeho simply smiled. I have been called worse by my own mother, he said. She was usually right, too. Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Vaxen's followers shifted uncomfortably. Their lord was being made a fool. Vaxen stepped closer to Su-min. And you, the female who talks for them. Do your males not speak for themselves? Are they so weak they need a woman to protect them? Su-min felt her face grow hot. On Earth, such words would have started a fight. Here, they could start a war. She took a slow breath. In my culture, she said, the wisest person speaks, regardless of gender. I am the diplomat. So I speak? Wisdom? Vaxen grabbed a cup from a nearby table. It was filled with something that smelled like acid. Let me give you some wisdom, little female. He threw the drink in her face. The liquid burned. Su-min gasped as it hit her skin. It was not dangerous, but it stung like fire. Her eyes watered. Every instinct told her to scream, to attack, to run. The room held its breath. This was what they had come to see. Su-min slowly wiped the liquid from her face. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. I hope that was not expensive, she said. Would you like to try again? Vaxen froze. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Behind him, someone laughed. Then another. Then a wave of strange alien laughter swept through the hall. Vaxen looked around, seeing species that usually feared him now mocking him openly. One of his own followers pulled him back. Lord Vaxen, perhaps we should leave. The humans are not worth your attention. Vaxen shoved the follower away, but he knew he had lost. The humans had not reacted with anger or fear. They had absorbed his insults like water sinking into sand. He pointed one clawed finger at Daeho. This is not over, human. When the tests fail and your species is destroyed, I will personally burn your home world. I will remember that, Daeho said pleasantly. Safe travels, Lord Vaxen. The Druin Lord left with his followers. The moment he was gone, the atmosphere in the room changed. Aliens who had kept their distance now approached with something like respect in their eyes. MoreHFY appeared beside them, his silver scales bright with amusement. In 300 years, no one has ever stood up to Vaxen like that, he said. You did not attack him. You did not run. You just let him punch himself out. That was the plan, Ji-won said. Her hands were still tight fists at her sides. Though I really wanted to hit him. I know, MoreHFY replied. Everyone saw you hold back. That impressed them more than any fight would have. Advisor Keleth walked over. Her expression had changed from amusement to something more complex. High Arbiter Telvis sends his compliments, she said. He says you absorb aggression like... He used a word I cannot translate. Like something that cannot be attacked because it has no solid form. Water, Su-min offered, wiping the last of the liquid from her face. We had a saying on Earth, be like water. Keleth tilted her head. Water, yes, that fits. She paused. The second test is complete. You have passed. Daeho let out a breath he did not know he was holding. That was the test? Being insulted? Being provoked, Keleth corrected. Many species have strong warriors. Many have powerful weapons. But a species that cannot be provoked is far more dangerous. You cannot defeat an enemy who refuses to become your enemy. She looked at each of the humans in turn. Vaxen was not acting alone. Several members of the Senate wanted to see your true nature. They hoped you would attack, giving them reason to destroy your ship. Instead, you showed them something they have never seen. What is that? Sumin asked. Keleth's voice dropped to a whisper. Self-control so complete it seems unnatural. The ability to feel rage and choose peace anyway. Some species believe this is a sign of weakness. But Telvis and others like him see it for what it really is. And what is that? Keleth smiled, and this time there was fear in it. The most terrifying form of strength that exists. She walked away, leaving the humans alone in the crystal hall. Around them, the gathering continued. But everyone kept glancing at them, whispering, wondering, who were these creatures? And what else could they endure? Daeho looked at his crew. Sumin's face was still red from the drink. G1's hands were still clenched tight. But they were standing. They were calm. One more test, he said quietly. G1 nodded. One more test. Sumin touched her burning face and managed to smile. Whatever it is, we face it together. They did not know that the final test would challenge something deeper than fear or anger. It would challenge the very thing that made them human, and it would nearly destroy them. The night was long. Captain Yoon Daeho sat in their quarters, staring at the alien stars outside the window. Somewhere out there, his ship waited with the rest of his crew. He wondered if he would ever see them again. Dr. Park Soo-min had finally fallen asleep, exhausted from the gathering. Lieutenant Kang Ji-won sat in the corner, cleaning a small knife that the Valorians had allowed her to keep. It was not much of a weapon, but it made her feel better. What do you think the final test will be? Ji-won asked quietly. Daeho shook his head. The first tested our fear. The second tested our anger. What is left? Loyalty, came a voice from the doorway. They turned to see Elder Prothan enter. He was ancient even by Valorian standards. His shell faded and cracked with age. 3 high arbiters had risen and fallen during his lifetime. He moved slowly but with purpose. The final test will challenge your loyalty to each other, he said. It is the cruelest test of all. Ji-won stood, her hand moving toward her knife. But Prothan raised a claw in peace. I am not here to harm you. I came to warn you. In 4,000 years, no species has ever passed the third test with all members intact. Most turn on each other. Some destroy themselves. A few survive, but broken. Sumin woke, disturbed by the voices. What happens in this test? Prothan's ancient eyes were filled with something that might have been pity. You will meet the Hollow One. It will offer each of you your deepest desire. Everything you have ever wanted. The price is simple. Betray your companions. We would never do that, Daeho said firmly. Everyone says that, Prothan replied. Everyone believes it. Until the Hollow One shows them what they truly want. He turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. The Hollow One does not lie. It cannot lie. What it offers is real. That is what makes it so dangerous. Good luck, humans. You will need it. He disappeared into the darkness of the corridor. The 3 humans looked at each other. No one slept again that night. Morning came too quickly. Guards led them to a chamber deep beneath the Senate building. The walls were made of something that swallowed light. Strange symbols pulsed with a sick green glow. High Arbiter Telvis waited for them, along with Elder Prothan and Commander Vrethix. The final test begins now, Telvis announced. Each of you will enter this chamber alone and face the Hollow One. If all 3 of you refuse its offer, you pass. If even one accepts, you fail. What happens if we fail? Sumin asked. Telvis did not answer. His silence was answer enough. The door to the inner chamber opened. Darkness waited inside, deeper than any darkness Daeho had ever seen. I will go first, he said. Captain's duty. He walked into the darkness and the door closed behind him. For a moment, there was nothing. Then the darkness began to move. It gathered into a shape that was almost human, but not quite. Eyes appeared, silver and endless. Yundeho, the Hollow One said. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I have watched you. I know what you want. The darkness shifted, and suddenly Deho was standing on the bridge of a massive ship. Not the horizon, but something greater. A flagship. Thousands of vessels followed his commands. Billions of lives depended on his decisions. Immortality, the Hollow One whispered. Command of the greatest fleet in the galaxy. Endless time to explore, to discover, to lead. All of this can be yours. Deho felt the weight of it. The ship felt real beneath his feet. The power felt real in his hands. What is the price? He asked, the female. Park Sumin. Tell us her weakness. Give us something we can use against her. In return, all of this becomes real. Deho looked at the stars. He looked at the fleet that could be his. He thought about living forever, exploring the endless universe. Then he thought about Sumin. Her kindness. Her courage. The way she had stood before the entire Senate and told the truth about human nature. No, he said. The vision shattered. He was back in the darkness with the Hollow One. Are you certain? It asked. This offer will not come again. My crew's safety matters more than my ambition, Deho said. The answer is no. The Hollow One was silent for a long moment. Then the door opened and light poured in. Deho walked out. Sumin looked at him with worried eyes. Are you all right? Yes, he said. But it was harder than I expected. Sumin was next. She entered the chamber, and the darkness embraced her. The Hollow One appeared again, studying her with those endless silver eyes. Park Sumin, your desire is different from his. You do not want power. You want knowledge. The darkness changed. Sumin stood in the library that stretched forever in every direction. Every language ever spoken. Every secret ever kept. The complete knowledge of the universe, waiting for her to learn. Every word written by every species, the Hollow One said. Every mystery solved. Every question answered. All of this can be yours. Sumin felt tears forming in her eyes. She had dreamed of this since childhood. To understand everything. To speak every language. To know. The price? She whispered. The soldier. Kang Ji-won. Tell us what breaks her. We saw her survive the crucible, but everyone has a breaking point. Give us hers. Sumin reached toward a book, her fingers trembling. She could feel the knowledge inside it. Calling to her dot, she thought about Ji-won. Her strength. Her sacrifice. The way she had faced her worst nightmares to protect them all. Sumin pulled her hand back. Knowledge without the people I love to share it with is meaningless, she said. I refuse. The library vanished. The Hollow One watched her go with something that might have been disappointment. Now it was Ji-won's turn. She entered the chamber with her head high and her hands steady. But the Hollow One had saved something special for her. The darkness did not show her power or knowledge. Instead, it showed her home. Her apartment in Bizan, her mother cooking in the kitchen, her younger brother playing games in the living room. Everything exactly as she remembered it. Your family, the Hollow One said softly. You miss them. You worry about them. What if something happens while you are gone? What if you never see them again? Ji-won's breath caught in her throat. I can protect them, the Hollow One continued. Forever. No harm will ever touch them. They will live long, healthy, happy lives. Your mother will never grow sick. Your brother will never know war or hunger or fear. Tears ran down Ji-won's face. This was different from the others. This was not about what she wanted for herself. This was about the people she loved most. What is the price? Her voice shook. The captain. Give us something. Anything. A secret, a weakness, a doubt. Something we can use. In return, your family is protected for all time. G1 fell to her knees. Her hands trembled against the floor that was not really there. She saw her mother smile. Her brothers laugh. She remembered the day she left for space, promising to come back. What if she never did? What if she had already seen them for the last time? The Hollow One waited in silence. It knew this was the hardest offer. It knew she was close to breaking. G-1 thought about Captain Deho. How he had believed in her. How he had let her take the crucible test. How he had caught her when she collapsed. She thought about Dr. Park. How she had stood beside her at the gathering. How she had not flinched when Vaxon threw the drink. If she betrayed them, what would she become? Would her family even recognize her anymore? No, she said, her voice rough with tears. If I betray my crew, I betray everything my family taught me. I would rather die honest than live as a traitor. The vision of her family faded. Her mother's smile disappeared last, like a candle going out. The Hollow One was perfectly still. Interesting, it said. Most interesting. The door opened. G1 walked out, her face wet with tears but her back straight. Deho caught her in his arms. Sumin wrapped around them both. It is over, Deho said. We all refused. High Arbiter Telvis approached slowly. Behind him, Elder Prothon was staring at the humans with an expression of pure shock. In 4,000 years, Prothon said, his voice barely a whisper, no species has ever had all members refuse the Hollow One. Some individuals have refused, but always someone accepts. Always someone betrays. Telvis nodded slowly, his ancient eyes studying the three humans who held each other like family. You truly are different, he said. More different than we understood. The Senate chamber burst with noise when the results were announced. Some demanded the humans be destroyed immediately. Others demanded alliance. Arguments filled the air. Telvis silenced them all with a single raised claw. Tomorrow, I will ask these humans one final question, he announced. Their answer will determine humanity's fate. He looked at Deho, Sumin, and G1. Rest well. This is almost over. As guards led them away, G1 whispered to her companions, What do you think he will ask? Deho shook his head. I do not know. But whatever it is, we face it the same way we faced everything else. Sumin squeezed both their hands. Together. Tomorrow would come too soon, and everything would depend on one answer. The Galactic Senate was full. Every seat was taken. Species that had not attended public sessions in decades were present. Word had spread throughout the Dominion. The humans had passed all three tests. Now, High Arbiter Telvis would ask his final question. Captain Yoon. Deho stood in the center of the chamber with Dr. Park Sumin and Lieutenant Kang G1. They had not slept much. They had talked until dawn, preparing for questions they could not predict. In the end, they had decided on one simple rule: tell the truth. Whatever happened, they would tell the truth. Telvis sat on his throne high above them. His shell seemed darker today, more serious. The ancient symbols carved into his body glowed faintly. Humans, he said, and his voice echoed through the chamber. You have surprised us. No species has ever passed all three tests as you did. Some of my advisors say this makes you valuable allies. Others say it makes you dangerous enemies that must be destroyed before you grow stronger. The chamber was completely silent. 2,000 aliens held their breath. I have one question for you, Telvis continued. Answer it truthfully, and I will decide humanity's fate. Deho stepped forward slightly. Ask. Telvis leaned forward on his throne. If I decided to destroy your vessel and everyone on it right now, what would you do? The question hung in the air. Daeho heard Su-min gasp softly beside him. Ji-won's hand moved toward her knife, then stopped. Daeho thought carefully. He could lie. He could say they would accept death peacefully. He could say they would beg for mercy. Both answers might save them, that they had promised to tell the truth. We would fight, he said. The Senate erupted. Voices shouted in dozens of languages. Some called for immediate execution. Others demanded silence. Telvis raised one claw, and the noise stopped. Continue, he said. Dae-ho took a deep breath. We would fight, not because we would win. We have one small ship and 40 crew members. You have thousands of warships and billions of soldiers. We know we would lose. We know we would die. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. But giving up is not something humans know how to do. We would fight not because we could win, but because surrender feels worse than death to us. We would fight because our nature demands it. We would make you pay a price for our destruction, even if that price was small. Silence. Total silence. Daeho continued, his voice stronger now. And even if you destroyed us, even if you killed every human on our ship, and then found Earth and burned our homeworld, we would still win something. Telvis tilted his great head. What could you possibly win? Daeho looked directly into those ancient dark eyes. You would remember us. Forever. You would wonder if you made the right choice. You would ask yourself, late at night, if maybe those strange little creatures deserved a chance. That doubt would live inside your empire like a splinter that never heals. He spread his hands. We cannot defeat you with weapons, but we can haunt you. We can become the question that never gets answered. We can be the choice you can never take back. The silence stretched on. Seconds felt like hours. Then High Arbiter Telvis did something no one expected. He laughed. It started as a low clicking sound, then grew louder. His massive body shook with it. The sound echoed through the chamber. Ancient and strange, and somehow joyful. No one in the Senate had heard Telvis laugh in over 300 years. You are terrifying, he said when the laughter finally stopped. Truly terrifying. Not because of your strength or your weapons or your technology. You are terrifying because you cannot be broken. He stood from his throne, and the entire Senate rose with him. For 4,000 years, we have ruled this galaxy through fear and power. Every species we meet either bends or breaks. We understand conquest. We understand submission. We understand revenge. He walked down the steps toward the humans, his massive form moving with surprising grace. But you stand before the greatest empire in the known universe, and you tell me that even in death, you would find a way to defeat us. You tell me that losing is not enough to stop you. He stopped directly in front of Daeho. They were so close that Daeho could see his reflection in those dark eyes. That is power we do not know how to fight. Telvis turned to face the Senate. I hereby declare humanity a protected species of the Valorian Dominion. No member of this empire may attack, threaten, or harm them. Their homeworld, Earth, is now under our protection. Half the Senate cheered. The other half sat in stunned silence, but Telvis was not finished. Furthermore, I offer humanity a place at this table. Not as subjects, not as servants, but as observers. They may send representatives to our Senate. They may trade with any member species. They may travel freely through our space. He turned back to the humans. You came to us by accident. You stayed by choice. You faced our tests not with strength or deception, but with something we had forgotten existed. Integrity that cannot be purchased or threatened away. Daeho did not know what to say. After everything they had been through, this felt almost unreal. "Thank you, High Arbiter," he managed. Telvis made that clicking laugh again. "Do not thank me yet, human. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and you have just stepped onto a very large stage. Many species will want to test you as we did. Some will want to destroy you simply for being different. We have dealt with that before," Sumin said. "Our own history is full of such conflicts." "Yes," Telvis said. "We have learned something about your history during your time here. You have spent most of your existence fighting each other. Yet here you stand, 3 individuals from the same world, refusing to betray each other even when offered everything you desire." He shook his great head. "Perhaps that is the most terrifying thing of all. A species that fights itself constantly, yet stands united when facing the unknown. We do not understand you humans, but we respect you." The ceremony that followed was long and formal. Documents were signed with symbols that meant nothing to the humans but everything to the Dominion. By the time it was over, the relationship between Earth and the Valorian Empire was official dot as guards escorted them back to their ship. Commander Vrethix stepped forward. He had watched everything in silence, his scarred shell and metal arm marking him as a warrior who understood battle. He stopped in front of G1. "You survived the Crucible," he said. "You remained calm in that gathering. You refused the Hollow One when it offered to protect your family. How do you do it?" G1 looked at him. She was tired, emotionally drained, and desperate to see her crew again. "Do what?" she asked. "Stay so calm. Face death and worse without breaking." G1 smiled, and it was a sad smile. "We do not stay calm," she said. "We were terrified every moment. In the Crucible, I wanted to scream. At the gathering, I wanted to attack Vaxen. When the Hollow One showed me my family, I nearly broke completely." Vrethix's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Then how did you pass?" G1 leaned closer to him. "We are very good at pretending," she whispered. "That is our secret. We feel everything. We just choose not to show it." She walked away, leaving the warrior staring after her. The ESV horizon looked small and beautiful, surrounded by the massive Valorian vessels. When the airlock opened and Captain Deho stepped aboard, his crew was waiting. Ensign Beekhanna hugged him so tightly he could barely breathe. "We thought you were dead," she said. "When they took you away, we thought we would never see you again." "We are alive," Deho said. "All of us. And we have quite a story to tell." As the horizon prepared to leave Valorian space, carrying news that would change Earth forever, Deho stood on the bridge watching the stars. Su-Min joined him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. That question Telvis asked. "What we would do if they decided to destroy us." Your answer was perfect. Deho shook his head slowly. It was honest. "But the truth is, I have no idea if humanity would really fight like I said. We have never faced anything like this before." Su-Min put her hand on his arm. "Maybe that is the point. We do not know what we are capable of until we are tested. And now, thanks to you, we might never have to find out." The ship entered hyperspace, jumping toward home. Behind them, the Valorian Dominion buzzed with discussion. Stories of the 3 humans spread to every corner of the Empire. Some said they were dangerous. Some said they were allies. But everyone agreed on one thing. These small creatures from an unknown world had shown the galaxy something new. Not strength. Not technology. Not conquest. Just 3 tired, scared, ordinary humans who had looked at an empire and refused to break. And somehow, that was more terrifying than any army. In his private chamber, High Arbiter Telvis sat alone, thinking. He had ruled for 300 years. He had seen species rise and fall. He had made decisions that shaped the lives of billions, but he had never felt what he felt watching those humans stand before him. Fear. Not of what they could do now, but of what they might become. A species that could not be broken. A species that turned defeat into victory through sheer stubborn refusal to surrender. For the first time in his long life, Telvis was glad he had chosen peace, because if humans ever became enemies, he was not sure the Dominion could survive. He looked out at the endless stars and wondered what the future would bring. Then he laughed again, alone in the darkness. Interesting times, he said to no one. Very interesting times indeed.